Hello everyone and welcome to US Computer Solutions for another how-to tutorial. My name is Joey and today I'll be showing you how to build a gaming computer on a mid-budget, meaning that I won't be using expensive SSD drives, top graphic cards, liquid cooling systems, and cases with LED lights, which is a good thing because LED lights generate some heat and we always don't need that heat. Alright, so all of these parts that you see over here, the case is not showing, but it was included. I will leave a link in the description for you guys to check out, and they all costed me less than $1,300. Now you can always buy a better GPU card with a more powerful power supply, but these are well compatible with each other and the motherboard, and I think this will just run fine. Now if I wanted to upgrade this, of course I'll have to upgrade my power supply. Alright guys, let's get started. Alright, let's get that case ready. The first thing we're going to move is the case cover that's covering everything inside. Let's get that acrylic released. Alright, the second thing is we are going to remove the other part of the case on the back. These are all the cables that will be plugged into your motherboard, your USB. Comes with a few screws, a little speaker in here that you can connect to your motherboard. Alright, so these cables over here are for your USB, your power, your audio, and of course I'll show you how to install them one by one properly inside the motherboard. Okay, let's spin the desktop this way, the case. This is the caddy where the hard drive is going to sit in. And over here in this area, this is where we are going to install our power supply. Now, this entire side of the desktop over here, of course it's still a case, but this is going to be a desktop. This entire side is where all the wires are going to hide. Over here, you can install extra SSD drives, or below over here. And in our case right now, we're going to install just one hard drive. All right, so now let's install our power supply. Alright, let's spin that case. This is a better angle. This is where we're going to install the power supply. Very slowly, let's drop that in there. Alright, so after installing the power supply in, now we're going to install the hard drive in this caddy over here. Very gently, there's little niches in there. And slowly let's plug it back in. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to install the motherboard, the heatsink, and the RAMs all together, and we will finish this setup. Alright, but before we're going to do that, we're going to connect the hard drive to power. Data cable. This comes with the motherboard. Let's get all of those cables out of the way so we can install that motherboard. We will need these screws that are not installed because some motherboards don't require them, but mine does. Especially mine is heavy. So let's get them installed. They look like this. Right out of the box, we have the heatsink and fan attached to the middle of the heatsink. Now this fan needs to be disattached so we can access the screws that will mount to the motherboard mounting bar. Of course, we will attach that later. Over here are the cables that will power up the fans. Some thermal paste, we're going to apply this on the CPU later. These are steel clips that will connect the fan to the heatsink, and of course some branding they sent out with the packaging. Over here is a screwdriver. This will help us reach those faraway screws to mount in the mount bars for that motherboard. Over here are mounting bars that we're going to attach behind the motherboard for those screws to attach into it. Of course, some screws. And here are manuals for different types of sockets. You have AMD LG115 series, LG A20 series. Over here are some spacers for some AM models. And that's it. Okay, let's set it up. Alright, so first things first, let's get that box that is separating the fan from the heatsink. Alright, slowly let's get those clips out. Do not hold and pressure on this, it will snap. Very slowly. This is how the fan looks like. Yes, it's a pretty big fan. Okay. Alright, so let's attach those steel clips to the second fan. Now let's attach that fan to the heatsink. Alright, so now it's attached. Alright, we're going to get this side of the motherboard, but first we're going to install the mountain bars on the motherboard. Alright, before installing that heatsink, let's install our CPU right out of the box, as you see over here, in our motherboard. And also we just took that out of the box, so let me take this out so you guys can take a look at it. And this is our beautiful motherboard. This is where we are going to install the CPU before we install the heatsink, of course, on top of it. And by pushing down below over here, we will release this lever and we will remove this plastic part that's covering the motherboard from dust because, you know, of packaging and stuff like that. And here's our beautiful i9 CPU over here. Let's get this removed. Be very gentle with it. Let's pull that out. And of course you see down here there's little notches that will match up with this. Now make sure that the motherboard and CPU are compatible with each other, because if they are not compatible, you're going to end up forcing it inside and things will not work well for you. So we're going to place it very slowly, as you see over here. So they're aligned. Now we are going to close this door very carefully down and let's pull that lever very slowly. And that's it. This is how to install CPU and the motherboard. Alright, so now we will install the mount bars and the back plate for us to install our heatsink. If you remember the parts that I showed you before, what we're going to need is the screws. These are the mount bars, and underneath that is the mount plate. I'm going to show you how this is going to be installed. You have to do it the very proper way and be very careful. Alright, so it's going to be aligned this way. Okay, let's put that carefully inside. has to align, of course, this way. Do not put it upside down, you'll damage the motherboard. And now very slowly, we're gonna flip that. And we are going to install it this way. Alright, so these are the mountain bars. You can either install them this way or the other way around. But in our case, I want to install for the fans to be not this side. I don't want them to interfere with the RAMs. I'm going to install them this way. So let's put that in. Very slowly and carefully. Alright, now we are going to screw them inside. And did they see what I'm doing over here? You have to really firmly have these screws tightened. Alright, so now let's get that heatsink. Alright, so first of all, we're going to remove this plastic cover from over here. And let's install it. Just make sure the line, we're not going to install it, we'll still have to put thermal paste on. And it looks like it is going to fit. There's a big fan. Alright, I'm going to try to spin it the other way because we're going to put the fan in the middle. And I think this way would be the best. Alright, let me show you how to insert thermal paste. Thermal paste doesn't need to be put in a big amount, just a little bit like this. Yeah. This much is enough. Alright, very steady and slowly. We're gonna use that long screwdriver to get those screws in. Try to screw it in evenly a few times from each side. They will give you a hard time before they latch on, so you have to be very patient and gentle with it. One has to be inserted in before the second one, and then you have to push on the spring in order for them to latch on, and then you firmly tighten them on very slowly. In this manner, as you see. That seems like it is in place. So right now, let's install the second fan. Alright, so here's our second fan. Let's get that in place very slowly and steady. Let me show you. Alright, now so let's connect the cables. Alright, so we will get, of course, a Y cable that splits because we have two fans, and we will get two adapter cables. The cables are supposed to be connected in this manner. Do not connect these and then connect this to one. So you can't be doing this. You can't connect these two fans together like this, and there's dropping them in. Each cable has to be independently installed, and you cannot do it from another way around. So this is how they are correctly going to be installed. Also, I must mention, do not connect one cable to the Y and then give these two directly to them, because you will ruin your motherboard electricity flow this way. This is how it's supposed to be correctly installed. Y goes through the motherboard and the two cables over here, and then the fan power cables. And then we shall connect it to our CPU. And let me show you where that goes. Alright, so now they are installed, and of course I have the wiring this way. That's because it is for demonstration purpose. Alright, so now I'm going to just tidy these up, and I'm going to insert it inside of the case. Now we are going to install the RAMs. The RAMs, of course, are going to go over here. Now, because this is a big fan, and remember, you don't need to buy this fan, but you know, just for this video to make it interesting, we bought this huge fan to show you how to install it. So the RAMs are going to be installed over here, and we have two RAMs. We're going to install them. Those little levers over here, we're going to open them up. So the release levers for the RAM, and of course the cables over here. I don't have more RAM, so I don't mind the cables to be in the way of the other two sockets over here. And now let me install the RAM. Alright, so right out of the box, these are two RAMs. These are DDR4s. Here are the sockets. Let's get those RAMs in. Hope you guys can see well. Alright, here's the first RAM. Now make sure that this little notch over here goes in that notch. Do not force them in because they will break, and you don't want to lose those beautiful RAMs. The second RAM in. Alright, so here are both of our RAMs ready and installed. Alright, let's get that in our beautiful computer. Alright, so let's put that motherboard side on top of those screw harnesses very slowly. Do not slide it. You must lift it up and align every screw hole with the motherboard, and make sure it is sitting properly before you start screwing in. And you will look at the other side of the motherboard from here to make sure that it's aligning well with the opening of the outlet area bay. Alright, so now we are going to install those screws in and keep that motherboard in place. Alright, so a very careful courtesy. The motherboard screws will be looking like this. Do not use other screws that do not look like this. It's supposed to look like it has a ring around it. And these are the ones that we're going to use to keep the motherboard in place. Alright, so our next step is going to be, we're going to install the graphic card, Wi-Fi card, and then we will connect all the cables to the motherboard and wire it up. Now be careful from this process over here. I'm going to zoom in. So before installing any adapters, these little parts over here have to be removed. Now they have to be removed very slowly because you don't need them hitting any capacitors here or breaking anything off of your motherboard. As you see, they're very close. I do recommend to do this before, but for the purpose of this video, I remove them very slowly out, and you can do the same. Do not force them out, just a few wiggles and they will come out alone. I'm going to install graphic card. I'm going to install the Wi-Fi card. Now for those, you can use these screws. Alright, right now we are going to start connecting all the cables in the motherboard. Alright, so we are going to install the power cable, the HD LED light, the reset switch button, and all of them are going to go in here. Now make sure you do this correctly, because if you don't do it correctly, your computer might not turn on and you might ruin some stuff. So refer to your owner's manual that comes with the motherboard. So I'm going to install, the first one is going to be the hard disk drive LED cable. I don't know if you can see that, but that's the first thing I'm going to install. Alright, so now we are going to install the USB, the 3.0 front panel. Now there's a little notch over here. Make sure that it fits in this way. Do not force it in if it doesn't, and make sure that it goes in, because it will break this. Okay, and now we have one USB and one HD audio to install, and we will install them right here. Of course, we're going to connect the ATX cable over here like this. Alright, now I'm going to spin the computer so we can connect the CPU cables in. Alright, the CPU cables are going to be in here. This is the power cables for the CPU. Now for the sake of organizing, we got them from inside this hole that's going to be connected directly to the power supply, and you can maneuver the other power supply the same way, just like how I'm doing right now. Okay, now I'm going to hold them together like this and go down slowly. Alright, those got in. Be careful not to break heatsink in the process, because it is tight over here, as you guys can see. Alright, so and finally over here we are going to connect our hard drive. Alright, so now after everything is installed, we're gonna just make sure the latency of everything and everything is connected. The ATX, VGA or GPU, your front USB, your power, your audio over here, and your other USB ports. Everything seems to be in place very firmly. The fans are able to spin, there's no wires, and right now I think we are ready to start up the computer. I'm going to plug it in and see if we'll be able to start. There's the power button, and see what happens. Everything seems to be in great working order. And there you go. Now you have a fully functioning, built, mid-price gaming computer. Guys, this was a long video. I hope you subscribe to our channel. Please give us a thumbs up, and see you again next time. Have a wonderful day.